Chelsea got annihilated by PSG in the Champions League last night and we are out of the competition. But all of the news this morning seems to pertain to a comment from Enzo Fernandez, which adds fuel to the fire that he might be looking for a way out of Chelsea in the summer. Welcome, Blue Believers, to another episode of the Stamford Sink, where we are syncing up with everything Chelsea FC. And today, that means we're mostly talking about Enzo Fernandez with one very tiny small piece of good news at the end of the video, so stick around for it if you want to feel good today. But guys, before we get into it, if you are enjoying the content and would like to see more, please do me the distinct honour of liking and sharing the video, subscribe to the channel, or just roast me in the comments, whatever gets you through your day. Right, so we're just going to jump straight into it, man. There's been tweets galore about Enzo Fernandez's comments last night after the the absolute annihilation of Chelsea in the Champions League, right? So he basically, this seems to have stemmed, he did an interview with ESPN Argentina after the game, and Liam Rosenior was even asked about it in his post-match press conference and was like, oh, I didn't hear about this, I don't know what's going on. So I imagine there's some stern words being had in the Chelsea dressing room today. So we'll start off with this tweet from PYS. Breaking: Enzo Fernandez on his Chelsea future. I don't know. There are 8 games left and the FA Cup. There's a World Cup and then we'll see. It's not... So look, what we're doing is like, you know, obviously everyone is really like diving into the, you know, what's being said, and there is a distinct lack of, I'm Chelsea till I die through and through. Do you know what I mean? All this, you know, players can come out and really affirm stuff, can't they? When they come out and say you don't know what can happen, do you know what I mean? That's basically them refusing to kind of wipe away the idea that a move might be on the card. So look, it's, you know, Enzo Fernandez in particular has looked really frustrated in the last couple of games. Like, you think about the last PSG game, he ripped Philip Jorgensen a new one for that mistake. He looked really frustrated last night as well. So there was a little bit more, although it wasn't necessarily about him leaving, about stuff that he said. Enzo Fernandez, we have to congratulate PSG. They were far better than us. I think they outplayed us tactically. We can turn this situation around. We have 8 games left. We have the FA Cup. We want to win the FA Cup. It's a title. We play football to win. So, you know, he's doing the... you know, the say it without saying anything. Like, he's obviously being asked direct questions and he doesn't want to come out absolutely backing his future at Chelsea, which is being interpreted as he wants to make a move. Now, in terms of, can Enzo Fernandez make a move? Like, we're going to get into an article in a minute from TalkSport that will give a little bit more detail on it. But yeah, of course, like, none of our players are untouchable if someone comes in with the right money for them. Enzo Fernandez is really polarising. This is what, so I've done a video about Enzo Fernandez recently, and one thing I've seen from the Chelsea fans that have been commenting, and a lot of you have had a lot to say, and it's really interesting, it's completely split down the middle, man. It's completely split down the middle. Some people are saying, be careful what you wish for. Look at the likes of Kevin De Bruyne and Mo Salah, who went on to obviously have absolutely phenomenal careers, and people are kind of surmising that if Enzo Fernandez were to leave Chelsea, then the same thing can happen. But other people are saying stuff like, Enzo Fernandez, obviously his numbers are really good, but he doesn't kind of contribute to the play in a way that seems really conducive to the way that we want to play. He seems to be a man that arrives in the last moments, and ultimately, some people feel that we could be stronger without him. So before we get any further into the article and the news and, you know, what's going on, I want you guys to tell me how you feel about the Enzo Fernandez situation, right? Get in my comments and tell me, do you think that it would be the absolute worst thing in the world if we lost Enzo Fernandez, or do you think that we could potentially reinvest the right money into other areas of the squad that could make us a stronger team? I'd absolutely love to know what you think about it. So what we're going to do today, something a little bit different from usual. We're going to move into this TalkSport article, which was written by Alex Conrad, but it was basically an interview done with Ben Jacobs. So it's an article written about an interview. Chelsea will demand British transfer record for Enzo Fernandez as he hints at exit, right? So this is the thing about Enzo Fernandez. We spent a lot of money on him, so we're not going to take a book loss, and we don't have to take a book loss because he's still got 4 years left on his deal. Do you know what I mean? It would be very difficult for Enzo Fernandez to push for a move and make us lose money on him. Do you know what I mean? That's kind of the thing here. So we're going to get into the article and we're going to react to it as we go. Chelsea star Enzo Fernandez has left the door open for a sensational departure in the summer. The World Cup winner played an hour of the Blues' 3-0 loss at home to Paris Saint-Germain on Tuesday, a result that consigned the West London outfit to an embarrassing 8-2 defeat on aggregate in their Champions League, a round of a 16 tie. Yes, it was embarrassing, wasn't it? That's absolutely true. Fernandez hinted his time at Stamford Bridge may be nearing the end. It was a result that evidently left a mark on Fernandez, as evidenced by a comment he made to ESPN Argentina following the match. Ends of the road. Love a pun, don't we? When quizzed on where he would be playing next season, he said, "I don't know. There are 8 games left and the FA Cup. There's a World Cup and then we'll see." So again, do you know what I mean? He's just really not like 100% coming out backing himself in a Chelsea shirt, is he? Fernandez's eyebrow-raising remark evidently caught Blues boss Liam Rosenior off guard when he was asked about this in the post-match press conference. "I haven't seen that," Rosenior said. So he was literally like, so one of the guys asked him, he was just like, Enzo Fernandez has just done an interview with ESPN Argentina and said he's not sure if he's going to be playing here next year. And you could see Liam Rosenior was visibly like, after getting battered 8-2 on aggregate by PSG, and then he's having this thrown in him, he looked completely bewildered, man, completely bewildered. It's hard for me to speak on speculation after a game. I need to focus right now on the most important things, which is making sure we have the right result against Everton. Yeah, couldn't really have said anything else. So, the article goes on, how much did Chelsea pay to sign Fernandez? A summer departure Fernandez would be a major blow for Chelsea, given they forked out an eye-watering £106.8 million to sign him from Benfica in January 2023. The fee marked a then British transfer record and was only beaten by Alexander Isak last summer when he joined Liverpool from Newcastle for 125 mil. Given Fernandez cost Chelsea a whopping 9-figure sum and they won't want to make a loss, there are very few clubs across the globe who could foot the bill should he continue to angle for a move away. So, is he angling for a move away, or is he just super, super frustrated and doesn't really want to think about that right now? Do you know what I mean? The other part of this as well is he has got the World Cup to focus on. So he's had a good season. Chelsea not having an amazing season. He's been one of the brighter spots for us this season, definitely. But you got to think, he's just going to want to focus on the end of the season, keeping his stock up and doing as well as he can with Argentina in the World Cup, right? So the article goes on, which clubs could be in the mix for Fernandez? There is one particular club at which TalkSport's Ben Jacobs believe would nip the front of the queue in the Fernandez sweepstakes. Enzo Fernandez is open to leaving Chelsea, Jacobs said on TalkSport Sports Bar on Tuesday. It's as simple as that. Is it though? Is it? Is it? I don't know. But are Chelsea open to selling Enzo Fernandez? Not at the moment, but there's a long way to go until the summer. So this is kind of what I'm saying, man. The cards ultimately are in Chelsea's hands because of the contract situation. The challenge is, regardless of what Enzo Fernandez may or may not want, Chelsea are not going to sell Enzo Fernandez, speaking to sources, for a book loss, which means there's only a handful of clubs in the world that could afford Enzo Fernandez. So yeah, basically, this is what I was saying before. We paid so much for him, and ultimately, even though Chelsea are not having a good time at the moment, we're not under a huge amount of pressure to sell. Now, the player can try and put pressure on the club, but the club are not going to sell unless someone comes in with the right money. If someone comes in with the right money, he'll go. We all just need to accept that as of right now. That is not exclusive to Enzo Fernandez either. That's the same for Cole Palmer, Moises Caicedo, João Pedro, Marco Correa. Maybe, there's only a few players like Esteval William, for instance, who really, really won't be sold at the moment because, he's obviously so young and got so much potential. But honestly, if Man United came in with 150 mil for Cole Palmer, he's gone. Do you know what I mean? If PSG came in with 200 mil for Moises Caicedo, he goes. Do you know what I mean? That is unfortunately just how it is. Right, so on to the clubs that might be interested. Some of the clubs are in Saudi. He doesn't want to go there. Some say PSG. I'm told that's wide of the mark. Real Madrid is the other club. So I've seen some noise recently about, obviously PSG were linked to him earlier in the season. Saudi has come out in the last few days, but you got to think that would be devastating, wouldn't it? Don't get me wrong, for the money, whatever, and from a Chelsea perspective, selling him to Saudi would be great because we wouldn't, then see him go on to become this absolutely magnificent footballer who's winning Champions Leagues and one of the best in the world if he goes to Saudi. PSG, maybe, I don't know, but it does sound like he's not really interested in that, and that totally makes sense, man. You can see the fire, the grit and the passion that he's got for football in general, and could he go to Saudi in his 30s? Yeah, maybe, but right now, I don't see that happening at all. Ben Jacobs continued, my information very clearly from sources close to Fernandez is that if, and that is still an if, because there's no talks or formal advancement, but should Real Madrid come forward, that is the club of preference that Enzo Fernandez would like to join rather than going to France or Saudi Arabia. So again, that kind of makes sense, doesn't it? Enzo Fernandez does seem to fit the mould of the quasi-Galactico. And, if you think of a lot of their other midfield players at the moment, like Tchouaméni and Camavinga, these guys are good, but Enzo Fernandez has got that star quality that, you could see him in a Real Madrid shirt, couldn't you? You definitely could. And, to go and play with the likes of, Mbappe and, Real Madrid's team is just ridiculous at the moment. Vinny Jr. and all that, isn't it? It's crazy. But I could 100% see Enzo Fernandez in a Real Madrid shirt, and because they are like not so much of a system team, they're much more of like a player kind of team in general, aren't they? You could see Enzo Fernandez's quality shining through, I think, in the Spanish league for sure, and at Real Madrid. The article finishes with, regardless of what the player may want or if he's hinting that he would like a move in the summer, and from the player's point of view, he may think that's possible, but we must remember Chelsea hold all the cards. So that's just the long and short of it, man. And like I say, that's not exclusive to Enzo Fernandez. That is basically the same for any of the untouchables in our squad. So essentially, that's just how it is, isn't it? He might want to move. He might say some stuff like this in the press and talk with some Real Madrid players or something, do you know what I mean? But at the end of the day, because of this is going to be the first massive test of Blue Co's long contract situation, because this will be the first time that a player who's on one of these long contracts and is very valuable and kind of wants to leave, if that's true, by the way, this is all an if, this is all speculation at the end of the day. Ben Jacobs seems to be pretty sure that, people he's spoken to that are close to Enzo Fernandez say that he's got one eye out the door. But either way, this is going to be the first test, isn't it? Blue Co have been putting young players on these really, really long contracts exactly to avoid situations like this, where Enzo Fernandez only has a year or two left on this deal and he's really valuable and we lose him for nothing, or we make a book loss or something like that. And the thing is, like, in order for this move to be forced through, Enzo Fernandez would have to be really, really drastic. And then that's a risk, isn't it? That's an absolute risk. We're not worried about him winding down his contract a la Trent. Do you know what I mean? How Trent did. And obviously, like, similar sort of thing happened with Mbappe, wasn't it? Like, Real Madrid offered loads of money, he ended up winding down his contract and going there. So it's a complicated situation, and it's going to be really interesting to see how it develops. Now, like I say, the big thing for me is, like, if we were going to lose Cole Palmer and Moises Caicedo, Marc Cucurella, João Pedro, I'd be like, yeah, okay, that's, they're really difficult players to replace. Enzo Fernandez has got great output, but for me, I've kind of always felt the same about him. He's obviously a great player, but I think he's another player that we've bought, and we've done this loads of times over the last few years. He's another player that we've bought that doesn't necessarily really fit our system really well. Do you know what I mean? We've done it so many times. Normally we do it with strikers that aren't strikers, right? Timo Werner, Christopher Nkunku, Nicholas Jackson to a lesser extent as well. But with Enzo Fernandez, it feels like, what's his position? Do you know what I mean? Is he a 6? Is he an 8? Is he a 10? He doesn't seem to completely flourish throughout an entire 90 minutes in any of these positions. But what he does do is he arrives and he scores goals, right? So in a very system-driven team, which is ultimately what we are, and we are going to continue to be regardless of who the manager is, by the way, is Enzo Fernandez irreplaceable? No. I mean, is Cole Palmer irreplaceable? Like, are any of them irreplaceable, really? Do you know what I mean? It's obviously a difficult one, but I think more so with Enzo Fernandez, there's a question mark above his head in terms of, like, where's his best position. Cole Palmer ultimately should be playing in the number 10. We're getting Giovanni Quenda in. When Esteval's back, Cole Palmer won't be playing on the right wing anymore. Do you know what I mean? João Pedro is the striker. Marc Cucurella is the left back. Moises Caicedo is the number 6. Like, these guys have their positions and stuff. And with Enzo Fernandez, we keep chopping and changing him and moving him around based on whoever's available to us. And that versatility is useful, don't get me wrong. But it's for that reason that I'm kind of like, he doesn't seem irreplaceable in that respect, because I'm not saying that we could go out and get someone better than him straight away, by the way. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that in terms of, like, building a system team, which is what we have, Enzo Fernandez seems like a massive, massive luxury. And someone said this in my comments, and I'm not gonna lie, I do have to kind of agree with them. I've never looked at Enzo Fernandez and, like, you're a 100 million player, which is obviously what we paid for him. Do you know what I mean? And don't get me wrong, he has done really well. But when I look at Moises Caicedo on his best day, I'm like, you're a 100 million player. Do you know what I mean? I look at Cole Palmer on his best day, and even though we got him for 40, I'm like, you're a 100 million player. But with Enzo Fernandez, I've never really felt like that. So, guys, let me know what you think in the comments about it, right? The Enzo Fernandez situation looks like the one to watch for the summer. I would not particularly agree with him of wanting to leave either, because we are in the mud at the moment. And also, he's 25. He's getting onto his prime. He's at that point in his career where he won a World Cup. He was amazing for Benfica. He's come to us and been one of our better players throughout this time. But if he wanted to go, like, fair play to him, man. Do you know what I mean? I would never want to keep a player here that doesn't want to be here at the end of the day, or was really, really angling for a move away. But at the same time, I think even he realises that he's not going to be able to force a move away for 50 million to Real Madrid or something just because he says he wants to go. He's such a valuable asset, and we spent so much money on him that he's a little bit more locked down than that. So I've had this up for a little while, but I'll just comment on it. In terms of Enzo Fernandez's output at Chelsea, In 160 appearances, he scored 28 goals, 29 assists, and won 2 trophies. Obviously, those being the Conference League and the Club World Cup, which are trophies, but there is large debate on the validity of the Club World Cup as like a massive trophy. I think it was great, obviously, because I was in it, but most neutral fans don't really rate it. So look, and there's the figures and the stats, do you know what I mean? At the end of the day, his output has been good for a midfielder in this time. Is he irreplaceable? In 160 games, just short of 60 goal involvements? Not necessarily, I don't think. For instance, Cole Palmer's got more than that, hasn't he? And that's what you want from your number 10 at the end of the day, and that's where Enzo Fernandez is kind of playing at the moment. So, if you've made it this far into the video, here's the small piece of good news that you stuck around for, and I much appreciate it because those watch minutes are very important to me. It's about Trevoh Chalobah, and his ankle is not broken. Yay! Just small mercies, right? Chelsea Dodgers said Trevoh Chalobah has confirmed his ankle is not broken and Lord Jesus protected him tonight. So yeah, Trevoh Chalobah, really religious guy, came out thanking his religion for protecting his ankle in that really scary challenge from Hakimi, where he was stretchered off, and it looked worrying, man. It looked worrying. Now, is he going to be available to play against Everton? Don't know, probably not. I haven't seen anything about that yet, but it's just good. It's the only piece of good news that I can find today, right? The literal only piece of good news that I can find today. So Trevoh Chalobah looks like we will see him, come back for the rest of the season, and that's good because despite the level of our defence being quite weak throughout the entire season, Trevoh Chalobah has been our most consistent centre-back this season. And if we are going to get anything out of the rest of the season, be it a Champions League spot or a potential FA Cup run, Chalobah probably going to be a part of that. Nice one, guys. I'm going to wrap the video up there. Thank you very much for sticking around until the end. If you did, I will catch up with you all very, very soon. Take it easy. Peace.